What's going on, YTH? How y'all doing? Whew. I forgot how sweaty it was to wear 2 polos all day. Man. Yes. All right, so we are starting a new series tonight. It's called Social Mediation. That's pretty cool, right? I made it myself, me and ChatGPT. But social mediation, I want to talk about the social media apps that you guys use, the goods, the bads, the others, how that applies to our life, and how it can be good, it can be an asset, it can also be a detriment. Now, I know it's hard to believe because obviously I'm a young youth like you guys. I'm in high school. It's cool. No? Nobody believes me? Sweet. That's cool. No. So I'm 36 years old, right? That's when you're like, no, you're not, Pastor Steve. You're saying, no, I'm 36 years old, but what that means, I heard that, what that means is that I grew up with social media, but it's probably not the social media that y'all know and that y'all love. See, it started for me at 11 years old when I got this thing called AOL Instant Messenger, or AIM. No profile, no pictures, no nothing. That was my screen name. Boy Band Reject 66. I spent a lot of time coming up with that because I was edgy, right? Like, I'm not like those boy band guys. I skateboard. So I was Boy Band Reject 66. And you put a lot of thought into your screen name, but even more into your away message. If you don't know what an away message is, it was something that you typed up and you put yourself on away, and if anybody messaged you, this is what would pop up. So you would spend like 20 minutes coming up with like, life's a journey, ... Don't miss it. And then like an obscure song lyric that you thought they never heard of. And then you would go away, but just sit at the computer and wait for people to message so you knew people read it. Right? We didn't have likes, we didn't have follows, but we still wanted to be seen. We wanted to know that people cared, that they were messaging us. We still wanted communication. And my sophomore year, at 15 years old, a little something came out called MySpace. Look at that stud. That was 100 pounds and 4 broken noses ago, but man, is he a good-looking kid. Yeah, thank you. Whoever said that, I appreciate you. Yeah. So MySpace is where things really started to get messy. It is also the birthplace of the angles. So it's the picture up here, over-contrasted, where you can see like one eye with the side bangs. And you could customize your whole page. You can make it glittery and sparkly, music as soon as somebody got on, little pictures pop up. And to do that, you had to code. You actually had to go in the back door of the website and like get the code into MySpace to make all these things happen. But the real battlefield of MySpace was your top 8. Nobody knows what that is, so you're not reacting. So you had on your profile, let's say I had 100 friends, 200 friends, 1,000 friends. Under your info, you were allowed to put 8 of your friends' profiles. And you chose which 8 they were. And let me tell you, dropping somebody from your top 8 was a declaration of war. It was a big deal. We didn't just want to be seen anymore. Now we wanted to be ranked by our friends. I wanted to know I was in your top 8. I wanted to know we were close enough. If I was dating you and there was another guy in your top 8, I had questions. And then, my junior year, there was this thing that came out called, and don't put it up yet, There's this thing called Facebook. Now, as a junior in high school, I could not have Facebook. Because if you don't know this, when Facebook came out, you had to have a college.edu email address to have a Facebook. It was for college students, by college students, only college students could use it. When I was a junior, I was dating a girl who was a freshman at Penn State. No big deal, humble brag. And she had Facebook, and I was so jealous and also kind of mad because like I couldn't do it. I couldn't get on there. But Facebook, now it wasn't just about your friends seeing you. You could throw that picture up there. Blah, blah. Come on. It wasn't just about your friend. Hey, that guy was a Blue Angel, so he's an American hero, okay? That's my buddy Julius. But it wasn't just about your friend seeing you. The original Facebook did not have a private mode. The original Facebook did not have a you had to be my friend mode. If you had a Facebook, anybody could see it. Anybody could see you. Anybody could talk to you. So now it was photos, status updates, relationship statuses, and this is where the game changed because you didn't just put your life on display, you were starting to build a highlight reel. Nobody posted the bad day on their Facebook for the world to see. Nobody posted their insecurities. Nobody posted their fights. You posted the best version of yourself on Facebook. And then you quietly compared it to everybody else's highlight reel. And then Facebook went, public sector, and everybody could get it. My grandma got one. My dog had a Facebook. Like, everybody has Facebook now. So all the cool, trendy young people were like, we don't want to be where the old people are. So then Instagram came out. They have Instagram, and let's be honest, it just took everything we were already doing and just made it about the one picture. You weren't able to post 10 pictures at once. It was one picture with a caption, and you released it for the world to see. And unlike Facebook, Instagram came with the ability to edit, to filter, to change that photo before you posted it. It lets you edit your entire life. It lets you post whatever version of the story you wanted, only the right angle with the perfect lighting and the perfect filter. And it was the version that got the most attention that you sent out into the world. Now, this was really crazy for me. It was sad for me because I grew up in the film camera era. I grew up where you had a roll of film, you took pictures, you didn't know if they were good or not. You sent it off to Walgreens or CVS or Walmart, and a few days later, a week later, you got them back. And it was the first time you saw the photos, when they were already developed and printed. You had a disposable camera. Good luck. Hope it worked when you took the picture. Hope nothing got double exposed. And you wouldn't know until it came back to you. But now, in the Instagram era, reality is subjective because you have 500 chances to take the perfect picture. And then you take the perfect picture, and you edit it, and you chop it, and you crop it, and you filter it, and you change it until that picture is so far from reality that it's finally good enough for you to post. And if we're honest, we don't just edit what we post, we start editing who we are based on what people like. You notice what people like on your Instagram, and then you slowly change yourself to become the version of yourself that you're posting online. You use a tool. You take a picture, you got a nap, you take a nap, whether you're a girl or a guy. If you're a girl, I could just thin out my belly a little bit. I can make my arms a little elongated. I could thin out my neck. If you're a dude, you're like, I could expand my bicep a little bit. I can make this look a little bit bigger. And then you post it, and people like that version of you, and then you wonder why you have an eating disorder or body dysmorphia. Right? You post something where you're wearing a little less clothes. Maybe you're on the beach. Maybe you're in the gym and you brought your shirt up a little bit and tucked into your sports bra. Or if you're a dude, you hiked your pants up a little bit. I'm guilty. I've done it. I get it. But then that picture gets all the likes. And now you start dressing that way all the time. You get a little less modest in public because you realize the attention makes you feel good. And you start shaping your real life personality, your humor, your opinions, your style around what gets approval on a stupid app on your phone. And now you're not just posting a highlight reel, you're becoming the highlight reel that you post. And the dangerous part is that you can start looking like someone on the outside that is nothing like the person you are on the inside. And that's where we're going to go in our scripture today. It's a story of two people named Ananias and Sapphira. And this is one of the to the point, most intense Bible stories I could tell you. But the heart of this story is really outside image versus internal reality. So we're going to go to Acts 5. I'm going to start in verse 1. It says, but a man named Ananias with his wife Sapphira sold a piece of property. And with his wife's knowledge, he kept back for himself some of the proceeds and brought only a part of it and laid it at the apostles' feet. So let me explain what's happening before we go on. So right before this is the early church. This is the Acts church. It's what the church does after Jesus' death, resurrection, ascension. Now they're on their own for the first time. It's the early church, and they're figuring it all out. Well, there was this wave of people in the early church that were selling and giving all that they had, giving it to the church as a community, and supporting each other with the proceeds. And there was this guy that's talked about just before this in Acts named Barnabas, who sold everything he had, and people saw it. And it mattered, and people celebrated it. But Barnabas didn't do it for attention. He didn't do it for himself. He did it because he truly believed it was the right thing to do, because it was the real thing to do. Well, Ananias and Sapphira saw that, and they wanted the same image as Barnabas, but without the same sacrifice. They wanted the world to think that they are one way, while under the surface they are another. So they sell their land, they get all the money for selling it, they keep some of it, they give everything else to the apostles, but they tell them that they gave it all. And listen, money is not the problem. Nothing about the time, the culture, the religion, the mandate said you had to sell all your things and give away the money. Nothing said that. The problem is they pretended they gave everything. They posted their spiritual highlight reel in public, but it didn't match their real personal walk. We continue in verse 3, it says, But Peter said, Ananias, why has Satan filled your heart to lie to the Holy Spirit? While it remained unsold, did it not remain your own? And after it was sold, was it not at your disposal? And Peter is basically saying, like, Ananias, this was never about the money. You could have kept it. You didn't have to do what anybody else did. So what was this really about? It was about his image. It was about the way that he wanted people to view him. Ananias and Sapphira wanted people to think they were more generous, more spiritual, more committed than they actually were. And if that doesn't sound familiar, that's basically Instagram in a nutshell. You want people to think that you're more this or more that or more this or more that, so you'll give it to them and you'll give it to them, and it doesn't matter if that's where your heart really is. It doesn't matter if that's really reflective of you or your walk. It's not always about lying outright. It's not like, Carol Lee is posting a picture of Mel and saying like, oh, that's me. It's not an outright lie. It's just this twisting of the presentation of yourself to make sure that you get as much approval as possible. Slightly tweaking reality because you want people to think certain things about you. Verse 5 says, when Ananias heard these words, he fell down and breathed his last. Dead. Now, I'm going to pause there because I know what you're thinking, and no, I'm not saying like if you post an edited photo on Instagram, God is going to kill you. Like that's not where we're going with this message. That's not the point. The point is, God wasn't dealing with their money. He was dealing with their fake spirituality. Ananias wanted to look surrendered without actually surrendering. He wanted the image of transformation without the reality that came with it. And in a moment where God was building something real with his people, this is the early church. This is where all of our walk started. This is the Acts church right after Jesus' time on earth. Ananias and Sapphira introduced something dangerous. A life that looks right on the outside, but is empty and rotten on the inside. And this is the lesson. God takes it serious when you use image to cover reality. And it's not because he's trying to punish you, but it's because he knows that that will slowly destroy you. You'll start living for perception instead of transformation. You'll shape your life around what people like instead of what God is calling you to be. And over time, you'll come to a point where you don't even know who you are anymore. God isn't asking you to look perfect. He's asking you to be real and let him actually change you. So the story continues in verse 7. After an interval of about 3 hours, his wife came in. This is Sapphira. And Peter said to her, tell me whether you sold the land for so much. And she said, yes, for so much. She had a chance to come clean. 3 hours later, new moment, new interaction, fresh opportunity, and she doubles down on the lie to cover her image. Why? Because once you build a fake version of yourself, it's really hard to break that character. Now you're not just posting something false to fool the digital masses, you're living it daily. You'll create lies to cover lies. You'll create false testimony to cover false testimony. You will keep digging the hole that you placed yourself in rather than climbing out, dusting yourself off, and just being like, hey, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I got a really cute, lighthearted story that really exemplifies this about one of my children. I won't tell you who, and I have 6, so your guess is as good as mine. I'm not going to tell you who it is. But we had this moment, it was about a week ago, and Veda, don't worry, it's not you, so don't sweat. We're in the living room, and the kids get an hour of screen time a day. They can use it however they want. They can get on their tablet, they can watch TV. We really try to hold it to an hour. Some were watching TV, some were on their tablets. And the TV volume is up, and like 3 of them are watching the TV, 2 of them are on their tablets. Trip is running around yelling, Daddy! And one of the children on the tablets had the volume up really loud. And everyone was kind of like looking. I'll say something, I guess I'm the adult. I was like, hey, do you mind turning that down? They're watching TV. Maybe go put your headphones on. And this kid looked at me and they said, I don't have headphones. I said, sweetheart, I bought you headphones. I know you have headphones. And they said, well, they don't fit anymore, so I gave them away. I said, well, 1, that's not true because they're adjustable. 2, who told you to give them away? And they said, Mom said I could. And I stopped and I paused and I said, so if I go get your mother right now, and I ask her if she told you could get rid of your headphones, she's going to tell me yes? Well, okay, all right. And then at this moment, another sibling chimed in, and they said, what about your black headphones from school? And they said, I left those at school. And the sibling said, no, I saw them in your bedroom yesterday, and it's the weekend. You haven't been at school since I saw them. No, I swear they're not there. So in all my wisdom, I got up, walked the 5 feet it took to get to the bedroom, and went, oh, look, headphones on your nightstand, right where they said they were. And it's not like nobody cares, it's just headphones, it's just volume on the tablet, it's not a big deal. I sat them down and I said like, hey, not a big deal that when I said, where's your headphones, you didn't know where they were, or like, it's fine. But here's the problem. You lied to cover a lie, and then you lied to cover the lie, and then you lied to cover the lie, and then you lied to cover the lie, and how far are you willing to take it before it's a really big deal? Now go get your headphones because I'm tired of listening to your tablet. But it's just an image of even something so small and so innocent. Sometimes, and if we're honest with ourselves, you lie once, and instead of just coming clean and owning it and getting a little egg on your face, you're like, well, I'm just going to keep lying to cover the lie. And we find ourselves in a place where like, what was the truth? I don't even know anymore because I've lied about the lie so much that I've completely lost what's true and what isn't. So we'll get back to verse 9. It says, but Peter said to her, how is it that you have agreed together to test the Spirit of the Lord? Immediately she fell down. She dies too. And I'll say it again, this story was never about money. It's about trying to look like something on the outside that you are not on the inside. They wanted the reputation without the reality. They wanted the applause without the obedience, and they wanted the fruit without the growth that it took to get there. I'm going to give you a quick side lesson. It's not really the point of this message, but as I was writing, it was really important to me that I laid this at your guys' feet. God cannot bless a version of you that does not exist. If you build your life on an image, you have to maintain that image, which means you don't get to be honest. You don't get to be vulnerable, and you don't get to grow because growth requires truth. Some of you are asking like, oh, why don't I feel close to God? Well, it's because you're presenting a version of yourself to Him that doesn't even exist. God cannot heal what you hide, and He cannot transform what you won't admit is broken. And what you hide will eventually be exposed. That is all throughout Scripture. Ananias thought that this thing was private. Sapphira thought that she had this under control. But what is done in secret will be revealed in public. And hear me, Instagram gives you an illusion of control. It's my phone, it's my password, it's my profile. I get to control the angle, I get to control the caption, I get to control the filter, I get to control the comments, but you don't control reality outside of that phone. And eventually, who you really are, like at your core, in your heart, will show up to the party. And it's better to deal with it with God now than have it exposed by God later. And I want to say the quiet part out loud real quick because I know how a lot of y'all operate. Because of my calling and the fact that I'm a youth pastor, I spend a fair bit of time on the old Instagrams. And what's crazy, and so one of y'all had to teach me this, it was an intern a couple years ago, is when I know for a fact that YTH is friends with somebody, but then I have a suggested friend and it's the same person. And that's when I learned about Finstas. The second Instagram that a lot of y'all have. That you guys have your one Instagram that is forward-facing where you let your parents be your friends, and then you have the Finsta where it's the real you and you don't want your parents to see it. And you only let certain friends behind that wall. You got your main account, you got your Finsta account, your real account, and your really real account. And this is what that shows. You already know you're not being authentic on one of them. You already know that there's a gap between your realities, between who you present and who you actually are. You've literally created two identities in a single medium that isn't even the real you to begin with. And it's easy to laugh about. It's easy to treat like, no, that's just my joke page. That's just my meme page, and this is my real page. But who you are comes through. Because I've seen some of them, and I've learned a lot about some of y'all through them. Spiritually, it is dangerous because you're not just posting different content, you're living a divided life every day. You're one person in public, and then you're one person in private. And a divided life will leave you empty. I want to bring it back to Instagram. Now, Ananias and Sapphira clearly didn't have an Instagram. It didn't exist yet. But if this moment when they sold their property could have been an Instagram picture, and they would have posted it, and they would have smiled, it would have had an Instagram caption kind of like this. Sold everything, trusting God, hashtag all in. And that's what they would have put out for the universe to read. Meanwhile, they weren't all in. They weren't being honest. And that's what we do. We post confidence and then battle insecurity in our bedroom. We post happiness and then we deal with emptiness in our life. We post boldness and we're living compromise with every decision that we make. Over time, you don't just fake it online, you start forming your identity around what people tell you is good. Now your life's not even about truth. It's just about approval. Galatians 5:22-23 says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, where's all my kids ministry people? Joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. Amazing. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. But what I'm here to tell you is that fruit cannot be filtered. Fruit cannot be edited. Fruit has to be grown. God is here to produce fruit. Filters will never do that. You cannot steal fruit yielded from a fake identity and claim that it's from God. It doesn't work that way. So to apply this to your lives, number one, fix your feed before it fixes you. Your Instagram, no matter how much you may think this statement is true, your Instagram is not neutral. It is not a neutral entity. It's not just something you scroll when you're bored. It is something that is discipling you every single day. What you look at will repeatedly shape what you desire, what you value, and eventually who you want to become. If your feed is full of bodies that you could never look like, lifestyles that you could never afford, and people pretending to be perfect, don't be surprised when you're insecure, dissatisfied, and feel like your life isn't enough. You are being trained every scroll teaching you what matters in life. Every like reinforcing what is worth it to other people. And if you don't take control of that, your identity will be built by an algorithm instead of by God. You'll start chasing a life that is not real. So the question is, if someone were to look at your feed, would they see things that are pushing you closer to God or pull you away from who He's calling you to be? Because if your inputs are filtered, fake, and surface level, your outputs are going to be the same. Garbage in, garbage out. Which brings me to number two, delete the fake account. Some of you are living two completely different versions of yourself, and only one of them can stand. There's the real you, and there's the you that lives on the internet. And if we're honest, the Instagram version probably gets a lot more attention, effort, and energy than the real world version of you. You take time to perfect that version, to know how you're going to be perceived by everybody who sees it. You adjust and edit and delete and repost until it's just right. And the problem is, the more you invest in that version of yourself, the more disconnected you become from who you really are. And now you're stuck trying to live up to a person that you created like it's a video game. And that is exhausting, and that is empty, and that is not sustainable. And at some point, something with those two identities is going to crack. Either your image is going to fall apart or your identity is. You have to make the decision. Are you going to keep feeding the version of yourself that is not real, or are you going to let God build something inside of you that actually is? And number three, stop performing for likes and start being formed for life. See, Instagram is built on performance. It's no secret. We all know why Instagram exists. We could tell ourselves it's just to keep in touch with friends and family. But we're all hunting the likes. We're all chasing the little red heart that pops up. We know. You post, you wait, and you measure. Did it hit? Did I do it right? Did I post it at the right time? Did the right people like it? Did it get attention? And if it didn't, how do I change it to make sure more people like it next time? That mindset will not stay in your phone. It will leak into your life, and now you're performing for your friendships. You're performing for your relationships. You will even perform for your faith. There was a moment in my early youth pastor days that hit me like a brick in the center of my chest. One of my first interns, I was walking with him, discipling him, leading him. I saw such breakthrough, I saw such fruit, and I was like, this is what it's all about. I'm doing the thing. I'm a youth pastor, and I got a youth, and the youth is doing the, and they're like, oh, I'm so excited. And I very clearly remember this moment. This is way back in the warehouse, YTH, like days one. And worship, and by worship I mean Tyler on an acoustic guitar, because that's all we had. He's getting after it. And the worship's heavy, and it's hitting. And I see this intern go to the altar and hit their knees. And I had a tear in my eye, and I was like, God, I remember where they were, and I see where they are, and God, I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful for you and how you've worked in this person's life. And I was so humbled. And then the worship ended. And that person got off their knees, turned around, and they said, Pastor Steve, you see how I got on my knees at the altar? It's pretty cool, huh? And I was like, you freaking missed it. It was performative. He was worried about what everybody else was going to think about him when he hit his knees. It wasn't a moment where the Holy Spirit brought him there. It was a moment where he was hoping the girl he was dating thought that he looked spiritual. And it broke my heart. And it put conviction inside of me that I can't let that happen, not at this youth group. You can perform for everything, including God. But God's not asking you to perform. He's committed to forming you, and formation is slow. It is a slow, grinding process. It's quiet. It doesn't always get noticed. There's no applause for choosing integrity when nobody's watching. There's no likes for walking in obedience even when it's hard. But that is where real growth happens. So you have to decide what kind of life you want. A life that looks good for a moment to other people, or a life that is actually being built by God over time. Because performance might get you attention in high school, in middle school, but only formation will produce fruit that lasts a lifetime. What I know is that we were not created to be curated. We were not created to be filtered. We were created to be transformed. And the saddest thing that could happen is you spend your whole life building a profile version of yourself and never become the person God called you to be. Because one day, Instagram will not matter, your followers will not matter, your likes will not matter, what you posted when you were 16 will not matter, but who you became through that time period will decide who you are when you grow up. Jesus didn't come for the perfect version of you. He came for the real version of you, the insecure version of you, the struggling version of you, the version of you that doesn't even like you sometimes. And instead of exposing you, he wants to blanket you with grace. He took your sin, your shame, your brokenness. He gave you a new identity. And it's not one that you have to edit to make other people like you. It's an identity that he already paid for in full. And the question is, have you allowed that price that he already paid to cover you, to make you new? Everybody close your eyes. You know, there's this really fun thing about inviting people to something like this, where we get people in the house that maybe you wouldn't have invited. You wouldn't have brought them here. Or maybe it was the person that you asked 100 times half-heartedly, and now you finally had no, I need to get them in the house because I might win free camp. It's cool. Whatever gets you to invite people, I'm here for it, because this is what I know. There are people in this crowd right now that do not know who Jesus is. There are people in this crowd that maybe know of him, but don't have a relationship with him. And nothing would break my heart more than me not doing everything that I could with the platform I've been given to make sure that you know exactly who Jesus is, exactly what he did for you, and exactly what you are to him. So just keep your eyes closed, just listen to the sound of my voice, and know that God created this world to have perfect unison in relationship with you and nothing else. And then we broke it. See, in order to love God, we had to have free will, and with that free will, we made a mistake. We did this thing called sin, and all of us sin, and all of us fall privy to it, and sin eternally separates us from God, and if God was just, we would get exactly what we deserved. But he's also merciful. And in his mercy, he sent his son, 100% man and 100% God, to come live on this earth for 33 years and take all of the punishment and all the wrath that we deserved on the cross, shed his blood, die, and rise again 3 days later so that we had an opportunity to get back to a Father that wants nothing more than a loving relationship with his creation. So that's what God did for you, and that's who Jesus is. And what are you for him? You're his perfect creation. You're worth more than gold. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. There's nothing you could do that would bring you too far away from the love of the Father. Nothing that you could do that Jesus' blood on the cross could not forgive. As long as you understand who he is and what he did for you, which is what we just went over. So with everybody's eyes closed still, I'm going to ask for a moment of boldness. And if you're in a seat, and if you ask yourself honestly, and this isn't a time for performance, we talked about how this is not about performance, it's about honesty, it's about being real. If I ask the real version of you, if tonight, unfortunately, you took your last breath, do you know that you have a good enough relationship with Jesus to go to heaven? if tonight happened to be your last night on earth, are you assured that Jesus is your Lord and Savior and therefore have a place with the Father? If you have any doubt in that, or maybe you're like, I don't know Jesus at all, I know nothing, this is my first time in church, I have no idea what you're talking about, Pastor Steve. But if you are anywhere short of, I know Jesus died for my sins, and if I died tonight, I would be with the Father in the morning. If you're anything short of that, I want you to stand to your feet. And no one's looking around. Keep your eyes closed when you stand. I'm going to count to 3, and I want you to stand up. And this is what's going to happen. A leader is going to take you outside, and you're just going to have a conversation. It's not necessarily about salvation. It could be reaffirmation. It could be you have questions. But I want to give you the opportunity one-on-one with a leader that loves you and cares about you, even if they've never met you, to have those hard conversations. So if you have any doubt about your spiritual walk, about your relationship with Jesus, about your salvation, on the count of 3, just stand up where you are. 1, 2, 3. Stand up, and everybody's eyes are still closed. Stand up right there in your seat. And leaders, if you see him, grab him, take him outside, go have a conversation. And I'm going to say it again because I believe there's more than 2. Leaders, you can move now. Any leaders can go grab them. If you have any doubts about your relationship with Jesus or any questions about Jesus at all, I want you to stand up. 1, 2, 3. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. It's okay. Stand up. And leaders, if they're one of yours, go grab them. Leaders are in motion right now. You won't be standing long. I'm going to let it breathe for 5 seconds. It's never too late if that's still you. It's never too late. This could be the moment that changes your eternity. If you walked in dead in your sin and you leave alive in Christ, we'll give it 5 more seconds. Stand up now if that's still you. Don't worry about the person sitting next to you. Don't worry about what people are going to think. It is not that kind of place. All right. Everybody open your eyes and look up here. Here's what we're going to do with the rest of you who are still in here. If you feel like you're in a place where you have been living 2 lives, and it doesn't just have to be Instagram and off Instagram, I'm talking about you're one person in church and you're one person at school. You're one person with your family and you're one person with your friends. If you feel like there's this division in your life where you're not your true authentic self all the time, you've been chasing approval, you've been building an image, and you're tired of pretending, in a second, I'm going to ask you to move to the altar. Leaders, still in the room, I'm going to ask you to come forward. You can come to the altar, you can stand in the back, but every leader, find a place. In a second, I'm going to ask you to move. And I want you to come, let go of the fake version of yourself, let go of the insecurity, let go of the comparison, let go of the performance that you think is making you worthy, and ask God to start stirring inside of you something that is real. No filters, no edits, no highlight reel. In worship, I'm going to ask you to come to the stage now. All I'm asking you for is surrender. Because a filter may be able to change how you look, but only Jesus can change who you are. And if that's not you, if you feel like you're not living a double life, you're not living a split life, what I know to be true is there is never a moment in my life where I don't have a prayer, where I don't need God to move, where I don't need intercession from somebody, where I don't need someone to speak and pray over me, where I'm not walking through something, or where I'm not just thankful for the things God has already provided for me. So I would encourage you, no matter what, whether it's alone at the altar, whether it's with a friend, or whether it's with a leader, to come pray, to come do business with Jesus, and to not walk out of here carrying something that you brought in the doors, because it's all about the cross and he's got room for all of our stuff. So whether it's living 2 lives, either online reality, family, friends, church, school, or just anything else that you are carrying, worship is going to start singing, and I want you to move and make use of this moment, and I want you to pray, and I want you to get real. Again, by yourself at the altar, with a friend, with a leader, but use this moment to get right with God. I appreciate y'all. Worship, take it away.